So, unless you've been living literally under a rock, you'll know that the successor of the 14 Ultra is now out, and it's been making some pretty big waves, and for good reasons. But one of the most underrated features got removed from last year's model, and that might be a bit of a problem. Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel. So my name is Seb, and if you're new around here, I make videos all about mobile phone photography. Now, like I said, the new Xiaomi 15 Ultra has left something behind, and that's the full variable aperture. And the reason why I called it one of these most underrated feature is because most owners of the 14 Ultra were shooting in automatic, so they didn't actually see what this variable aperture did. They just assumed that, you know, there was a little elf working its magic in there. But joke aside, I have seen many tech tubers saying the same thing about the 15 Ultra. That there are quite a few inconsistencies with how the photos from the main 1-inch sensor were a bit hit and miss and sometimes not looking entirely sharp, and they put it down to basically the phone being new and that a software update might fix that issue. In reality, what they're actually experiencing firsthand is the lack of the variable aperture. See, on the Xiaomi 15 Ultra, the aperture is now fixed f1.63 as opposed to the f1.63 all the way to the f4 on the 14 Ultra. And don't get me wrong, for low light, it's great, but for anything else, it's not so great. In a nutshell, what the aperture does, what its job is that it controls the amount of light that gets to the sensor and how focused that beam of light is. So basically, the more open or wide it is, the more light hits the sensor, and in turn, you get a shallow depth of field, meaning that less of your image is sharp. But on the other hand, the smaller and close the aperture blades are, the sharper the image gets with much less depth of field. But to really see what I mean, let's head out to show you some real-life examples. There are so many scenarios where the variable aperture will come in really handy. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to switch over to the action cam and I'm going to walk around and show you exactly what I mean. So the first scenario where I think most people will notice the difference if they switch from the 14 Ultra to the 15 Ultra is how clear their documents will look. Because you see, a lot of people use their phones nowadays to kind of like scan documents. So I'm just going to do a quick example here. It's on the NCP car park terms and conditions. But if we go to f1.63 and I'll take exactly the same photos on both f1.63 and f4, and you'll see exactly what I mean. If we do that, take the photo, and then f4, and now you notice straight away that anything but the center part of the image is blurred, and that's just because you're shooting on wide aperture on f1.63. If you want everything to be sharp and clear, you have to shoot f4, and unfortunately the Xiaomi 15 Ultra doesn't get that luxury. Scenario where people will most likely notice the lack of variable aperture is when shooting group photos. Okay, so you're on a night out, you want to shoot pictures of your mates, and what's going to happen is, right, so I'm going to switch to the phone now. So if we switch to 1.63, the aperture of the 15 Ultra, and we do, I don't know if you guys can see, but I'll pop the pictures on the screen anyway, so you guys can see the comparison. So the first one will be at 1.63, and the second one will be at f4, and you'll see straight away what I mean. Hence why being able to change your aperture to, let's say, f4 on the 14 Ultra is really important, because it will allow you to take shots of everyone actually being in focus. Now, from a creative and artistic point of view, being able to change and play with the variable aperture is really important. So let's say this pillar here, this post, okay, it's not going to win any awards, right? But it's just to prove a point. And if we take the photos of both f1.63 and f4, you guys will see the massive difference on the screen. I'll pop the pictures now. You'll see the difference between the f1.6 with a massive amount of blur and bokeh, which is really nice, you know, but not all the time you want to achieve that. Sometimes you want to be able to see the foreground and the background in a kind of same depth of field. So that's why it's really important to be able to switch between the two or in between values. And here's another example. So if I take the photo now at 1.63, I'll focus on the sign and you'll see that the background is really blurred. Now if we switch it over to f4, and now yes, the background is still kind of a little bit blurry, but much less than if I took it at f1.63. Now if you're into videography, the ability to change the aperture is essential, and I'll show you why. So currently my exposure is spot on, okay, but if we change the aperture to f1.63, which technically would be what you get with the Xiaomi 15 Ultra, this is what you get. And I'm also recording the screen, so I'll pop the results on the screen so you guys will see the massive difference that it makes. Obviously you'd have to be using an ND filter to counteract that, but being able to change the aperture is essential, like I said, because the difference between f1.63 and f4 is, if you know your video guys, that's a difference of nearly 2 stops of light, and that is massive, that's huge. So being able to change it really helps in terms of exposing your scenes right. Another benefit of the variable aperture, and you guys if you shoot on cameras you'll know what I'm talking about, is starburst. And that is basically an artifact that happens when you shoot towards the sun and the light kind of goes through the blades of the aperture and creates that effect. So I've taken many photos in the past showing that effect, and I'll put them on the screen. But I'm just going to try to take one now to show you the difference between the f1.63 and all the way to the f4. So I hope that these real-world examples helped you guys understand that this variable aperture, referred to by someone already as, oh well, another less moving part, is actually important when using a large sensor. I'm not entirely sure why they removed it. Some say it's because of the lack of space due to the new gigantic telephone module, and others say it's due to cost savings. Who knows? But I really hope that Xiaomi watched this video and that it is something that can make a comeback in the 16 Ultra, because if you're going to call the latest device built for pro photographers,
it's built for professional photographers,
then make sure it actually is. But what do you guys think? Are you going to get it? Have you already bought it? Please let me know down in the comments. As always, if you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already subscribed, whilst you're there, you might as well. It really helps the channel. So thank you for watching, take care, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.